reinvention doesn't have to be dramatic, this big thing. It's really just picking up a different rhythm. So just do it, right? Like someone say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. And
Mm.
so if you are seriously feeling that you are just not as happy and not responding the same way, and encourage you to take a change, find a market, but then you've got to be very open-minded when you come to that market and really figure out how to get involved in the community.
Sabra, you had mentioned that you transitioned from a corporate marketing career to becoming a fractional CMO. So, what inspired the shift, and how are you helping smaller companies leverage your expertise?
Yes, I am reinventing myself for my next, maybe fourth or fifth chapter after an amazing 25 years with an eclectic experience in marketing in top ad agencies in New York City, big tech like CA Technologies and Lenovo, and then being in different types of startups. I feel like I have gained a really unique perspective that I can bring to help companies that maybe can't afford robust marketing departments. I can be that Swiss Army knife for them, bring that expertise, bring that strategy and execution muscle so they can see the power of marketing to help them grow. This is something that's been inspired from our transition from New York City to Colorado. We were in New York for 15 years and now have been in Boulder, Colorado for 10. And it's really opened my eyes to a different perspective on work and worth, and really allowed me to step back and think about what fills my cup and how I want to define work, how I want to define work and what that means for me.
So interesting that you're talking about exploring work and worth. Can you talk about that exploration and what your big takeaways and breakthroughs have been?
Definitely. And I feel like I need to preface as I do this. This is not a dig on New York or romanticizing of Colorado. It really is the opportunity that moving from New York City to Colorado just gave me a different perspective, and that contrast of cultures really created clarity for me. Um, and so, yeah, I am so appreciative of New York City. I don't think I would enjoy Colorado if I hadn't done the grind of New York. It was a perfect way and place to start my career. I loved the culture of New York, especially with advertising and marketing. It was so creative. You were working with some of the smartest people. There was winners and losers, whether that was with business results or with ads. And so I love that competitive nature. But what I didn't realize was how much I was tolerating not having boundaries, dealing with, making my family and things that fill my cup, like giving back, secondary, as well as dealing with, I don't know, egos, burnout, politics, all of those things. And so when I came to Colorado, my eyes were open to the startup ecosystem, which was exciting to be a part of and had that same intensity. But what's also different about startup is there's a collaboration and community element that was new. I think
Mm-hmm.
in New York, someone's always breathing down your neck for your job. And if you ask for help, they kind of harumph. Whereas in Colorado, when you ask for help, someone's like, sure, what can I do? And they have time for you and they're willing to open up their networks. And it really was that collaboration and community that inspired me to think about work, the way that work looks differently. And I also think, when we talk about work versus worth, I think, again, in New York, you're so caught up in that excitement and work becomes your identity. But I started seeing things around me that people were retiring. They were, it was a crazy job market. People were losing their jobs. People needed to stop work to take care of, aging parents. And it was very interesting to see that when they stepped out of work, they lost their identity and how quickly that impacted their own health, age, whatever it may be. And so it's really given me this perspective of if your job title or your job is going to change, what do you have left?
Mm.
And so really making sure that work and worth doesn't get confused and that, you still have a life should your job situation, I shouldn't even say should, when your job situation changes, because it's going to happen to all of us.
Hmm. I love that. I love that you have that awareness at this time in your career. And I've seen that shift of people retiring as well. And then it's kind of like when you go from college to the real world, and it's almost like you get dropped into this huge ocean and you're trying to find your way. It's a similar shift, but a different shift. And so recreating your worth. And a lot of people do identify their identity with work. So, as far as really being able to discover your worth, what are some things that you found that you can feel worthy? What are you worthy of? And what allows you to give yourself permission to be worthy of those things you feel worthy of?
Wow, those are great questions. So I think I was very fortunate in New York, especially when I worked for CA Technologies. There was so much giving back as part of our company. And so you could be on site, and we had the opportunity to mentor students from Year Up or from Pencil. They did a lot with Girls Who Code, a lot of different programs. And I'd always been that person who was leading the first year program, the internship program, whatever it may be. But then I found it harder and harder to give back. And I am so appreciative because I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for the mentors early in my career and even the mentors today. Like, I am so appreciative. And so I want to make sure that I pay it forward. And that's
Hmm.
something that I've been enjoying more and more as I'm getting more professional knowledge that I can share with young students or share with nonprofits. So I'm a mentor for a leadership program in a local high school. I'm currently on the board of a local nonprofit, Blue Sky Bridge. I'm been there for almost 5 years. And they have similar business challenges. And it's so exciting to be able to share things that I do in my day to day and see how it makes an impact. Because when we're able to fundraise better, we're able to support more kids and create more of a safe space. And so I think that is where I'm realizing what is filling my cup, what makes me feel a worthy member of the community, and what I want to prioritize. And really, I think being in Colorado has been a place that has given me permission to do that. Um, when we look, it was shock when we first moved here, but a decade later, I don't know what the majority of my friends do for work. It doesn't come up. And when people ask you here, what do you do? They mean activity, right? Are you skiing? Are you rock climbing? Are you mountain biking? Like, whatever it may be. And people are impressive athletes. So they excel here not only professionally, but also personally. They're, training for Ironmans. Maybe they're doing, Olympians. It's unbelievable. And so I think we learned some of this during the pandemic of like, let's walk and talk and let's get outside. And now I think we're all back stuck in front of our computers. But one of the things that I love here is so many meetings happen outside. Like, let's move our bodies. And I think we know that, right? That movement creates mental clarity. And personally, for me, I'm a talker. So, it really helps me to talk things out. So having people is really what, sparks ideas, hears challenges reframed in a different way, and also, has me do something healthy for my heart. And so I've become comfortable that walking the dog in the morning or going for a hike is part of work because it just makes me more productive and more creative when I get back. And I definitely get in ruts where I'm like, oh, I can't do that. And then I wonder why I can't solve a problem or why I'm just being reactive versus proactive. And then I get myself moving again because I just try and remind myself I get more done in my hiking boots than I do, behind my desk.
Mm-hmm. That's such a great point. And we'll go there in a minute, but it sounds like you're worthy of being a valued member of the community. You're worthy of taking a break and getting exercise. You're worthy of having an identity beyond work. That's what I'm hearing you say with your answer there.
Yes, and it is so helpful to hear you say that because it's still hard, right? I think it's hard for anyone who's listening if they want less, or it's okay if they want more. There's different moments for all of that, but I do think we need to give ourselves permission to understand that we're worthy, that boundaries are healthy, and that it actually makes us better professionals and better humans. And especially, we have a 12-year-old daughter, and so I really want to make sure that I am role modeling her so she will grow up to be worthy within the space that she identifies wherever she wants to go personally and professionally.
Mm-hmm. We are setting examples for the next generation, and we're carving out some challenging, thinking of the diplomatic word, but I would say challenging, almost uncharted waters as professional women. And of course, those before us allowed us to have equal experiences in the workplace. And now we're really navigating this whole work-life balance thing, especially raising a child and having family. What do you find is most helpful for you as balancing? I know you may not be able to do it equally all the time, but balancing work and raising your child, setting a good example for her and for others, especially in your nonprofits and in your leadership roles.
Well, I like the point that you said that we are setting an example for the next generation. I
Mm-hmm.
also think the next generation is teaching us a little bit. I know we give them such a hard time for maybe having a little bit more of an aloof attitude, don't have this die-hard work commitment. But I think that's okay. Like, I think that's a good reminder for us that we don't have to, and especially as everyone's returning to the office, um, I think, the way that I grew up was you wanted to be the first one in and the last one out. You would never leave before your boss. Butts in seats was like more important than productivity. And I really think there's been a change. And being in the office is about collaboration and maximizing that time to learn from each other and uncover new things that'll move the business forward versus just like sitting in your seat. And so I think it's important that we, take, don't say this is how I did it and I had to pay my dues, right? That there is another way. And that way our kids don't have to, do the grind that we did to, start our careers. And I think from role modeling, I think there's a couple things. One, it's really about teaching the value of money with our daughter. They don't see money, right? You tap your phone, you Venmo, you do whatever. And so a lot of it is just having a conversation is like, when I'm not available or when I'm on meetings, it's because I'm earning money, which helps us do these things that we want to do. And, understanding helping her understand those trade-offs. And then also prioritizing the things that are important. And the thing that I've just gotten really good about is I live by my calendar. I block my calendar and I really try and hold true to that calendar. And it's very transparent for people that like, I'm leaving. Instead of doing the mentorship over Zoom, I'm taking the time to drive to the school to do it in person because you have bigger connections. I'm making sure I'm doing school pickup or going to an activity because really it's 30 minutes. That could just be a meeting, But when your kid comes out of school super with everything fresh, you hear so much more about the day than when you sit down at dinner and it was like, how was your day? You know? So, and it really is 30 minutes, and really understanding that, yes, we need to be available primarily during work hours for clients and colleagues, but work happens in different places. And so really prioritizing, and I think that's part of the importance of boundaries, is really learning how to say no to the things that are off strategy and a distraction, and focusing on the things that are going to make an impact. I'm kind of old school. I think it's the Eisenhower grid of like urgent and important, not urgent, but important, delegate, deprioritize, and delete. And sometimes
Mhm.
even for me, I write things down on my to-do list that are in my head, but that I know aren't necessarily priority, and I strike them out. And for me, that even helps me, like, I acknowledge this needs to be done, but I know it's not a priority. And so I'm, moving it for a later date to really make sure that I make an impact.
Mhm. That's a great tool that our audience can use. So you clearly have touched on certain societal expectations that you learned somewhere along the way, and you're breaking those. So what kind of mindset support have you utilized to help you shift your perspective and also let go of maybe that guilt or that you should be doing this when you want to go do something like pick up your daughter after school or go to an activity?
Well, to be fair, it's taken a really focused 5 years, if not longer, to get comfortable with that. And there are definitely moments that I feel either imposter syndrome or panic about what I'm doing, and I just have to breathe through it. And I'm so helpful, and I'm so lucky. Excuse me, I'm so lucky. I have
Mm-hmm.
a supportive husband. I have a supportive network. It's so amazing when I told people that I was, reinventing myself as a fractional marketing executive, how many people just said that was the right thing and asked how they could help. But it doesn't happen overnight. It still requires focus. And honestly, I think it's a lot of podcasts. Like, I'm on a big Mel Robbins kick right now, the idea of the like let them theory, and really just letting it go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's funny actually. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this. But I actually started listening to that because I have aging parents. They've moved to Colorado. We're trying to figure that out. And everyone's like, you need to listen to this to figure out the relationship with your parents. But actually, I think it helped me figure out the relationship broader,
Mm-hmm.
with myself, with work, with everything else, of just like, let them, because I went from really big logos that everyone knew, Saatchi and Saatchi, Ogilvy and Mather on the IBM account. I'm dating myself, but we did print and TV, so I could see my ads waiting for the subway train in the morning on the back of the business paper. I'd see ads on, TV. Then I was with names like CA Technologies and Lenovo, and everyone, there was something about the power of a brand. And so having to walk away from that, but now realizing it's my brand. The power of the brand, that is the business card in my pocket, is myself, and that is the relationships that I have built, the trust, the credibility, the results, and everything else, and really leaning, being proud of myself, and leaning into me being the brand that I'm putting forward, and being okay with that. And I think that's, yeah. So lots of podcasts, lots of deep breaths, lots of hiking, lots of time that I think has gotten me to this place of clarity.
Wonderful. It's good. It's good that you have a support system. And I'm also, in addition to recruiting, I'm a transformational coach around mindset. And one of the things that I've learned as well as experience is that sometimes you'll have that support system. And then as time goes by and you're making more progress, you may start receiving more criticism. And what I found is that that actually happens so that you can build your own individual conviction, even though it can be uncomfortable. But it sounds like you've really been able to listen to words and beliefs that are helpful. And I love that when you said you went on to the podcast to understand your relationship with your parents as they're changing. And then you realize that what you were learning trickled into all areas of your life. And that's true. As we improve one area of our life, it's going to positively impact the other areas of our life. So it sounds like you've been doing some great work. So let's switch back to marketing. So as someone with an Army knife marketer background, how do you balance the analytical and creative aspects of marketing?
The art and science of marketing. The irony was I was an econ major. It was too many numbers. I went into advertising and now I'm fully back into the numbers. But I think that's great because as marketers, I think one of the best assets we have is our gut. And then it also really helps to have data. And so you need that gut to have conviction when it's the quantity and numbers aren't there yet because something hasn't been in market long enough. So you have your gut and then you have your numbers to validate what you're feeling. I think there's a lot of conversation though about what are those right numbers. And I think a lot of that varies for the stage of company, sophistication of tech stack, and all of those different pieces. And so I just think like we should also give ourselves permission to define what those key metrics are we believe that really are right for the business and put those forward. And remember that it's a holistic effort between product, sales, customer success, and marketing. And all those numbers need to be working together to go up and to the right.
Okay. And how do you encourage that balance in the teams that you work with?
Yes. So I think creativity is so important. I feel like if I wasn't in marketing, I would have gone in the CIA because I love to put all the different pieces up and try and figure out how they go together. And so I think we really need to understand the business problem that we're solving or the situation that we're in and how we can get the most out of it. I think a lot of times I get it, getting in market is better than perfect, but you really need to maximize that opportunity and think about all of the steps because you could put all this effort and get the first three steps right. But if the fourth one's not, it's going to be a problem. And so really carving out that time. I love having chunks of afternoons to brainstorm or do a walk and talk and really think about what's needing to be solved, then map out that go to market plan with all the creative elements, and then think about at what key points do you need to be measuring to make sure that you're tracking, that you're successful, or just to be getting data that could help you learn and identify within those points, where can you test? So this is what you want to do, but where are the points that you need to test so you can keep improving? And what have you done in the past, or what are the industry benchmarks to also keep yourself honest? Because I think it's great. Oh, the numbers are getting bigger. We feel good. But in comparison to what? And, are you comparing to the right season? Are you comparing to what your competitors or what the industry is doing? How do you also make sure that those numbers are pushing you to really be successful? And it's okay if the numbers are off. That's why you have them. And then having a conversation about, what is the right optimization but again, making sure you've been in market long enough to, give those numbers a moment to build.
Okay, so it sounds like not taking those numbers at face value, but really challenging them and digging deeper to understand if it's success or if it's just numbers going up.
Right. And because it could be the right people, right? Oh, we're so excited. We did something, but all of these students signed up, but we were actually going for a different title. So what happened and we appealed to this audience? And is this an audience that would make sense and we need to pivot our messaging for it, or do we need to tweak something because we didn't get to the people who are actually going to buy?
Okay, good. No, that's wonderful. So you're passionate about the role of art and creativity in marketing, especially as AI becomes more prevalent. So how can marketers maintain that human touch and avoid losing the art in the science of marketing?
I feel so spoiled. Starting off my career with Saatchi and Saatchi and Ogilvy and Mather, the creatives, the opportunity the clients gave us to be creative, and that was so much of how you differentiated and to see those ideas come to life. I really think, and humor, right? We used to also have so much humor in our advertising because you really understood the target audience and you found ways to make them laugh. And so I do miss now that everything's a little bit robotic. No matter if it's B2C or B2B, we're still connecting with people, we're still building relationships. And I think that's really important in what we do, whether it is spending time with, prospects and clients. I know the people that I do my best work with, I'm on a texting basis with them because that's the relationship we have, but also thinking about the moments that we can interact with people. I remember when I got promoted in a role, one of our partners sent us a pinata filled with candy and just that personal touch so that you have interaction outside of the day-to-day business transactions. So it's nice when things are good, but it also makes it easier when things are hard and you can have those tough conversations. And then just push to be creative in your marketing efforts. Everyone is fighting for other people's times. And we just talked about how busy we are. And so think about what matters. One of the things that we did at Lenovo that was so fun, we were a software business unit within the world's largest hardware company. So we tried to figure out how to leverage that relationship. And they had great shipping rates. So we did some really cool direct mail, and they had the latest and greatest hardware. And so actually we did our demo as a 3D experience for a VR experience for everyone. And people were just so excited to get to play with new tech because we're selling into tech people, and not to have to sit down and watch the 15-minute, video or click button demo. And so let's just remember, we're all people who are curious about what's happening, love to learn, love to have a great experience, and are dealing with so much marketing noise. Let's connect on the personal level, keep it creative, and have some fun along the way.
And so to piggyback on the idea of almost over marketing experience, what is your perspective of email marketing at this point?
Oh, gosh, with which hat? I think as marketers, we all know it is the workhorse of a marketing plan. It's one of those things you can't get away with. As a human, my Gmail is a disaster. And there is so much too that Gmail is doing. Hey, you haven't seen this in a while. Want to unsubscribe? Filter these into different pockets. So they're making it harder and harder. But a good subject line will get me if it's relevant, and I kind of keep it in my inbox, and it becomes your search engine. It's another search engine of like, okay, I'm really curious about this. Like what is there? So I think you need to be respectful. It's kind of the same conversation we had with gated content. If you're asking people for their, any personal information, name, email, whatever it may be, even though that's publicly available, right? You're making a trade. And so whatever it is you're giving them once they give you your information needs to be of value. And so same thing, if you're going to take the time to put an email in someone's inbox, please take a moment to, make sure it's worthwhile, because the number of people who misspell my name, who have companies I was working at 4 jobs ago, and stuff like that send me, I will never work with you because your lack of attention to detail. And I really try and be available, especially if I've had the BDR teams as part of my team. So I really try and answer those calls and at least give an answer so they can mark something. So I'm someone who tries to be really open to that. But don't be sloppy. Don't be lazy if you're going to put stuff in my email, because as much as you're trying to create a conversion, it could hurt your brand even more.
Right. Good. Good tips. Wonderful. So, what advice would you give to creatives who are considering leaving a larger market like New York City or LA for a smaller, more tight knit community? And what are the key factors that they should consider?
Definitely. I think yes, you can like I was thinking about some of this and I was thinking like, yes, you can build a creative, meaningful, successful life and still have room to breathe, right? Um, and I think the thing that I'm realizing is reinvention doesn't have to be dramatic, this big thing. It's really just picking up a different rhythm. So just do it, right? Like someone say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. And so if you are seriously feeling that you are just not as happy and not responding the same way, and encourage you to take a change, find a market, but then you've got to be very open minded when you come to that market and really figure out how to get involved in the community. There are so many great startup weeks, there's so many different meetup groups. There's, just even I found people who look interesting in the area and asked if they've had coffee. And so you do get back what you put out and more. And so you can't just, think the city is going to do all of the work. But I think, yeah, make that move, go to a group, connect with a couple of people, and just when you talk to people, say, is there anyone else that I should be speaking with? And those just keep snowballing from, you get one tip, one connection at, each meeting, and it just becomes more and more. And look, you can always go back. If it doesn't work out, if you really give yourself a realistic amount of time, like 3 years or something, you can always go back. But the way that you position yourself to the world, right? And I still hold on to my New York City area code. I've earned that, right? You can have that best of both worlds, but you're the one who's going to position to yourself, position to the world if you're comfortable with that change or not, and how you introduce yourself and how you present yourself.
Okay.
And talk to me. If anyone is really interested in doing it, please reach out. There's not many Sabra Willner, 2 L's, on LinkedIn. And I would love to share my experience and open up my network if there's anyone that could help with the change. And it is different, right? Again, you can want more and want those big logos and want that fast pace. Unfortunately, I was in New York for 9/11, and I just remember my dad saying, you wanted big. This was what you wanted, right? And I was like, oh, not sure that was, what I meant. But like, yeah, I mean, I was in New York and I have the badge of I was there for 9/11. I was there for the blackout. I was 7 months pregnant during Hurricane Sandy. Like, those are badges of honor, that we hold. But again, it's also who makes me strong, resilient, and appreciative now that I'm not in New York. But it definitely took a while. And it was that if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. But when do I want to try it somewhere else? When am I not, um, when am I not giving up or quitting or missing out? And yeah, all the good conferences happen in New York. You wouldn't have to travel to them. You wouldn't have to pay for a hotel, right? There are definite trade-offs, but I think a lot of that is just figuring out what your priorities are, but also realizing it's possible. You can have the best of both worlds.
So, can you explain your definition of if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere? Because I think you can interpret that many different ways. And I'd love to hear what you've defined that as through your experience of leaving New York and going to Boulder, Colorado.
For sure. I was so lucky. I had a great career. I met my husband in New York. He was my waiter. We got married in New York. We had a child in New York. So we had really done a lot of those key foundational adulting things in New York, and we were doing it, and we were enjoying it, but we were also fighting for every square foot, fighting for activities on the weekend, fighting for a seat, on the subway. And so I think that was it for us. Like, if you can make it here, we've really, for 15 years, have developed this strong foundation, both professionally and personally. And then we wanted to take that somewhere else. And also thinking about it wasn't just us, right? When we left, our daughter was 2.5. And, it was really hard to be like, oh my gosh, she can go to the museums on the weekend and her teachers are, off-Broadway performers. She's getting the best. What is the trade-off? The trade-off is she, runs around barefoot screaming, outside, because kids are meant to, play and be heard and have fun. But again, that's what worked for us. And that was, the next chapter of, if you can make it here, the next thing that we're doing in Colorado is we're, growing our family. Well, one kid, but having her grow up.
Yeah. Well, and you're growing your business yourself as a consultant. And so, can you share a specific example of a time when your scrappiness and innovative approach to marketing helped a client achieve their goals in an unexpected way?
That is a great question. And that is something that I am really proud of. One of the things I did, that this seems silly, was just creating a mascot in B2B.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the cybersecurity space. It is a hard space. It is crowded. It is noisy. There's a lot of offerings. And if you try and go to a trade show, right, it is rows and rows of booths. So I worked with our external design team, and we created a mascot out of the logo and had it printed at our booth and created swag with it. And it was unbelievable how it got people to stop, because it was different. It was fun, right? It was created to that human interaction, and it got people to connect. And something like that, yeah, there's a cost of design, but the booth traffic and then the brand ambassadors who were afterwards wearing our stuff was really priceless.
Wonderful. And it sounds like you really do have that ability to make a marketing situation interactable. Is that even a word? Interactive, between the VR with the tech company and then this booth as well.
Yeah, I think I'm again so lucky having the foundation at ad agencies. But one of the agencies I worked at was called Renegade Marketing. It was a boutique agency, and I was helping them expand their B2B clientele. And this was when I had done all kind of like above the line print TV, and really wanted to understand more of like the below the line trade shows, direct mail, sales enablement, and all of those pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a defined format. And so that really has you be creative. And especially so much about how Renegade works to like cut through the noise. It taught me how to think about the message that you were trying to communicate in a way that would be relatable to the audience and unexpected. And so we created a board game for sales enablement to help people understand how the product worked. We had unexpected entertainment in the booth that you would maybe think you would see more at a circus, or the people next to us were probably annoyed, but it got great traffic. Or one of the other things too with Lenovo is we knew we were going to create swag, and gosh, we could have a podcast all about swag. right? Stuff everyone loves. You have to have it. But what do you do now when people have access to so much stuff? And, it's so painful. No one wants to have to pack up swag and ship it home. It is painful. It is expensive. Even though the team is always excited when there's extra stuff they can keep. So one of the things that we did at Lenovo was we hired a screen print artist. So there was 4 different designs that you could pick from because we thought all 4 were good. It's a great way to get feedback for future swag, but it also had people empowered to choose what they want and to make sure that the swag was something that wouldn't be left in their hotel room. And people loved it. And while they were waiting for their screen print, they got, they got to pick the size they wanted, the color of the shirt, and the message that they wanted. And then while they were hanging out in line, we had the opportunity to talk with them and see if we could strike up, do some discovery conversations to see if they were good prospects. So again, it's just taking the standard thing that you normally always do and figure out how to do it a little bit different, a little bit more fun, and really, plus one that effort.
So between your scrappiness, your ability to make marketing experiences interactive, your move from New York to Colorado, if you could wave a magic wand, what would your dream role or dream project look like? Where could you really leverage your diverse marketing experience and passion for driving business transformation?
Oh, I have so many passions. There's so many different ways that I would answer. I think, one is in the, corporate space and the other's in the nonprofit space. From a business standpoint, I really enjoy companies. I say zero, but I say, 1 to 30 million, 50 million that are getting off the ground and, just need marketing support. It's so fun to be able to come in and look at yourself at the end of the day and know all the work that you've done is going to make an exciting impact, and come back the next day and see how the needle has moved and really, pick that low hanging fruit to, drive success. So I love early companies that are building out their marketing engine and really helping them think about that foundation that they need before they start investing in specialties. So, and especially when you're working with founders who are so passionate, the depth of information that they share is great. It just gets your wheels spinning with possibilities. And I think having that type of thought partner really helps you come up with those scrappy and creative ideas, because I think about like when we were going on a, there's a story that was always told at Ogilvy, going on a tour of the Lenovo plant. It was the IBM PC at that time, going through the plant, and someone was having a conversation, and one of the product people was just like super excited and was like, look, you can pour water on the keyboard and it drains. And everyone's like, wait, that was not in the creative brief. That is like the coolest thing, and it was like, that became a huge, ad campaign about all the different things that you could do with this, business computer that people thought was so dainty. And so it's like just being around those people that are so passionate, they're such great thought partners to get that creativeness and scrappiness going. So love to be in that situation professionally, and then professionally, personally, I guess, with the nonprofits, really being able to go in. I had the opportunity to spend an hour with a nonprofit that was prepping for their big fundraising event. They are so smart, but a small team. And so to be able to go in and like give them the moment to breathe and step back and think about the email campaign, actually, it was the email campaign that was leading up to this big event, and kind of encouraging them and giving them permission to be more creative or try things differently. And they changed that cadence and sold out the event. And that was so exciting. We just took an hour, gave ourselves the opportunity to think differently and to really support the smart team to, achieve their goal. And I love to be able to give back, mentor, and share my experience that way.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today?
I just think I'm so appreciative, Jessica, of the work that you're doing about humanity and sanity and living your dream. I don't think, we often get to have that conversation. And so I'm just so appreciative that we got to have a talk about like the power of slowing down and being open to redefining success in marketing and life. I think, as we talk about people thinking about these moves or what they're doing, so many of us are playing by the rules or trying to understand the rules of success. And we probably crave more creativity, more space, more health. That it's, I just am so glad that you're having this podcast to let us know that it's okay to feel worthy and it's okay to, ask for more or less.
And for more inspiring examples of other creatives living their dream, be sure to check out this video. And if you're interested in receiving support from me as a transformational coach, be sure to check out the description and send me a message. You can do it. I believe in you.